You are now about to witness the strength of street knowledge. Welcome to Voice Junkie. So, welcome to Voice Junkie, episode 3. We're going to talk about the UFC 202 last night and how incredible of a main event that was with Colin McGregor, the Irish Adonis, and Nate Diaz, and these two guys delivered, man. Well, before I get into Nate Diaz and Colin McGregor, I just want to touch real quickly on Glover Teixeira and Rumble, A. Johnson. Man, look, that kid A. Johnson is no joke. And I'm telling you, after what he did to, a legend like, Glover Teixeira, man, look, we got to see Daniel Cormier in Rumble, part 2. We got to see that. I mean, Teixeira came in. I thought that it was going to be, I thought it was going to be a competitive match, but it wasn't a competitive match. Teixeira came in. He did, a couple of these, and he came on the top. Rumble checked his ass. Boom.
Coming right there. Hit it. Ooh. Hit it, Chuck. Ooh.
Oh, Jesus Christ, man.
Uppercut, lights out. I mean, you could literally see as he hit him with that uppercut and he started to fade, his tooth, it was confirmed that it was a tooth. His tooth went up in the air, and as the tooth was descending back down to the surface of the floor, Teixeira's body was coming down, hitting the floor. They both came down simultaneously. That's how bad that was. And, Rumble finished him off with a couple chops to the face, and it was a wrap. Done. I mean, that match probably lasted about 20 seconds. So that was an impressive knockout. It's just a matter of when we're going to see Daniel Cormier, the champion, go against Rumble. I mean, that's happening. That's a money match. I'm sure Dana White is, and his people and, those two camps are working on it. Because that's a money match. I'd love to see how that, would shape out. And my money would be on Rumble. I think Rumble learned from the first matchup that he had with Cormier, and I think that he'll win. He'll probably try to keep it on the, keep it standing up. Don't try to get on the ground with Cormier, because Cormier loves to smother people, unfortunately. Actually, Anderson Silva. But I think that if he keeps it on the ground, if he keeps it off the ground and stays, hand to hand with Cormier, I think he has a shot, because this dude's power is like otherworldly. Now, let's jump into what it really is about. Let's jump into the main event with Colin McGregor, Nate Diaz, the Irish Adonis versus the shit-talking Nate Diaz. I don't have really a phrase for him, but man, these guys delivered, man. Usually when you have this kind of tension heading into a fight, all the talk, the chatter, the blah, 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 all this stuff, usually it doesn't live up, unfortunately. So you pay, you piss away $50, $60 for a pay-per-view, and the main event doesn't live up. This is what happens in boxing sometimes. And in this case, this was the exception, thank God, and it lived up. It totally lived up. You've seen the wills of both great fighters. That's, that hated each other going into the fight, but left respecting each other at the end of it. Diaz came in. McGregor came in with a clear strategy. It was reported that he spent upwards of $300,000 in preparation for this fight, and it showed. He definitely was well prepared for this fight. He had a different strategy going in, and he executed that strategy almost flawlessly, but he ran into some trouble at the end, predictably, because Diaz is a distance guy. He lasted the fight. So McGregor went in with the strategy of keeping things on, off the ground. He lost the fight on the ground last time around because, let's face it, Diaz is a bigger guy. He's naturally bigger. His natural weight is like around 170. And listening to the press conference after the fight, McGregor even said it that, like, look, man, you know, I struggled to get to 170 heading into the fight. And he said Diaz had to be 190. McGregor said he was actually bigger this time around than he was in the first fight. So hats off to McGregor. Look, love him or hate him, you got to tip your hat to this dude for getting in a match, getting in a fight with a guy that's bigger. That's literally out of his weight class. Literally. And he still held his own and still won the fight. You got to give him his props. So let me just go through it real quick. I'm not going to systematically go apart every single thing that happened in the fight. Look, it went 5 rounds, all 5 rounds, 25 minutes. McGregor came out strong. I mean, lefts, rights, constant kicks to the leg, because that was what he prepared to do. His trainers told him, look, we're going to go for leg kicks. And McGregor is not a leg kick guy. He's a striker. You know what I'm saying? He likes to go for the head. He's a headhunter. But this time around, he changed his strategy. He wanted to go after Diaz's legs early in the rounds. It worked. Every time Diaz was looking for that leg kick, boom, he would check him. And the first 2 rounds, he dominated almost. Diaz had a late flurry in the second round, but before then, it was academic. Those first 2 rounds, Colin took. He knocked down Diaz 3 times. 3 times. Not once, not twice. 3 times he put Diaz's ass on the ground. First 2 rounds, Colin, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But like I said, Diaz came back. He started weathering the storm toward the end of the second round, which gave him a really, really, really good round in round 3. He took that round. Colin was starting to tire, you can tell. I mean, when you're fighting a bigger guy that's probably 20 plus pounds bigger than you, that tends to happen when you're a smaller guy. So Diaz took advantage of that and definitely weathered the storm and showed his heart. Because at this point in the third round, his face is all bloody. It looks like meat that you take out of a package, out of your fridge. That's how it looked already in the third round. That's how much damage McGregor had did to him in the first 2 rounds. So once that happened, Diaz weathered the storm and he kicked ass in the third round. Took that round, no doubt. Then, coming out to the 4th round, McGregor kind of got his second win, got his legs back underneath him, went back to the leg striking, and hit him with a couple combinations, weathered Diaz's storm. He definitely took round 4. And in round 5, it was kind of mixed. I'll give it to Diaz, just because, but it was really mixed. I give it to Diaz slightly because he did finally take down McGregor toward the end of the round. You got to keep in mind, at this point, Diaz didn't knock down McGregor once. McGregor went down one time, but that's after Diaz hit him with one of these things, one of these like open chops to his throat. And basically it was like a push. And that's how McGregor went down, but it wasn't like a check like McGregor hit him like on numerous occasions. That it wasn't like that. So I didn't count that as a takedown. As a knockdown. I don't think the judges did either. I could be mistaken, but to my recollection, to my card, there was no knockdowns for Diaz, and he had 1 takedown at the end of the 5th round. That doesn't cut it. Now he had he threw a lot of punches, but a lot of them didn't connect. So you factor in those 2 things on points alone. You gotta give it to Colin McGregor. I had him 3-2. I think it should have been a unanimous decision. The split that he got from the second judge was bullshit. Let's be real. If you were being conservative, you had to give Colin 3 out of 2 rounds. You had to. If you have 2 eyeballs and you're not high and you're not biased and you watch the fight legitly without a bias, because a lot of you do watch things with biases and judge it through that bias unfairly, by the way. But in this situation, if you had 2 eyes and you were being objective and you watched the fight without a bias, for any fighter. You can tell that McGregor clearly won at least 3 of those rounds out of the 5. Now, if you win the majority of the rounds, that means you should win by unanimous decision. It's common sense. It's basic math. All right? That didn't happen. So he got one split by the second judge, and the other judge gave it to McGregor. So it was a 2-1, basically 2-1 to McGregor. So it's a win's a win. But regardless of the point, you got to give the guy his props. The guy really showed a lot of heart. I even earned some respect from McGregor because it showed that the guy is a true professional. You love him or hate him, the guy takes his profession seriously, and he did that in this fight. He took it serious, and it showed. He didn't make the same mistakes. And I said to my boy, who was watching the fight, I said, hey, man, I hope Ronda Rousey was watching, because this is how you prepare to go into a second matchup after a big loss. This is how you prepare. You do whatever it takes to right those wrongs. And Colin McGregor did that. Love him or hate him, you got to respect the guy. He went in and he beat the bigger guy in Diaz. And he fought the way he wanted to fight. He didn't fight on the ground. He fought standing up, and he delivered. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with McGregor going forward. We don't know. I think UFC wants him to fight Jose Aldo again, which, I mean, he knocked Aldo out in 13 seconds. Stop. And Aldo's last fight wasn't that impressive either. So I don't know how Jose Aldo was getting an easy pass into fighting Colin McGregor. You know, so I don't even understand that. So maybe that's the next thing for Colin McGregor. But he did indicate in his press conference that he's up for fighting Diaz again. But this time, Diaz is going to have to come down to him at 155. And I think that's fair. I mean, look, he went up 170. The guy's naturally 145. He's a featherweight champion of the world. He went up 20, 25 pounds just to fight Diaz. You know, and he don't get credit for that either. So give the guy his respect. Diaz at 155 and McGregor at 155, they'll probably top out around 170, 165, probably 170. I think Diaz would probably top out around near his natural size if that fight was to happen again. It's going to happen again probably because it's just too much money on the table. Part 3 of a saga, see who gets, the best 2 out of 3. So that's going to happen again. So it'll be very interesting to see Diaz come down to that weight size, at 155 against Colin McGregor. That'd be very interesting. And then we go from there. So it was a great matchup. I had to just give my 2 cents about it. So yeah, that's episode 3. Tune in next time. We'll have another episode rolling out within the week. Try to do these by the week. And yeah, till then, support you can catch us on social medias at The Trendaholic on Twitter, at The Trendaholic on Instagram, at The Trendaholic on Facebook, and on Snapchat. You can also find us on patreon.com if you want to become a pledged member. Come into the inner circle, man. Come into the inner circle. Join the voice of the voiceless over at Voice Junkie. A quarter episode, I'll take it. $1 an episode, whatever you can afford. This show could greatly appreciate it. So until next time, peace out.